She was an English photographer. This quote's really important because it really embraced the way she felt about photography and how she was going to approach it using high art and changing the way people saw photography. She was born in Calcutta, India, 1815. Uh, Father was an East Indian Company official. Mother was descended from French aristocracy. She was the fourth of seven sisters and was educated in France, which is interesting, even though she was born in India. So she was exposed to a lot of different cultures. Her sisters and herself were definitely known for their sociability and artistic uniqueness, but she was more eccentric than many of her sisters, and it included that into her adulthood when she would wear like odd clothing, just as like robes, well, compared to many of the nicely fitted suits that the people she was taking photographs of, who were also her friends. So she definitely stood out. But her quirky, unorthodox upbringing influenced her style of photography. And I think the most interesting thing about her is that she didn't take up photography seriously until she was 48. So, like I said, she was pretty old when she started photography, and she actually just began in 1860 when she moved to England in the city of Freshwater, Isle of Wight. Um, she already had a family, she had kids when she decided to start. So that was kind of cool. Um, so the South Kensington Museum was a place where she had a lot of her works. The only place where she had her works posted or shared when she was living. She also had a studio there. Um, High art. So what's different about Cameron than many other photographers at the time was like she didn't emphasize intricate detail in the process of photography, of making everything perfect and take a picture of exactly what you saw. Like a lot of people, most photographers wanted to take pictures of what you saw and it had to be exactly that. She wanted to do something completely different. She wanted to like use art as a way to no, use photography as a way to express art. So she would even add artistic scenes Shakespeare and the Bible and people like Walter Scott, like poets, and she would add those kinds of scenes into her photography. But like she's mostly known for her photographic portraits of famous people. But that is where her portraits varied from other people is because of the way she approached taking the photograph. She definitely wanted to. Well, she says in quotes, "When I've had such men before my camera, my soul has endeavored to do its duty toward them, recording faithfully the greatness of the inner as well as the features of outer man." So that she wanted to capture their characteristics, not what they saw like for their appearance. Like she wanted to emphasize what they're about, not what they looked like. She took photos of very famous people, poets, scientists, including Charles Darwin, historians, explorers, including William Gifford Palgrave. She took photos of everyone, but she just portrayed them in a different way. But unfortunately, her career ended in 1875 because economic reasons, which is unfortunate. She took more photos, but they never were that popular as soon as she moved. So she ended up with 900 images within 12 years, which is a pretty amazing accomplishment considering the level of like photography she was at before. She knew nothing before 1860, so that's pretty amazing that she was able to create so many great photos within 12 years. Just some famous quotes. I thought they were pretty interesting. So it just definitely explains her way of taking photographs. So this is a very important photograph that really showed, or yeah, it showed her way of taking portraits of people. So this is her good friend Sir John Herschel, who is a scientist. She wanted to really express the characteristics, inner characteristics of him. Like told him not to, after he washed his hair, not to comb it, make it look kind of messy, like so he looked like an adventurer or like open minded or just kind of out there, you know. Also, the lighting is kind of weird. Like she used side lighting on the on the right side of his face. You can't even barely even see his left side. She probably did this intentionally to show that he's kind of mysterious. The way she took the photo, zoomed in into the face, he looks very like powerful, looks very strong, like man. What else? What's important about this photo? Um, yeah, I think the lighting me of the moon or distant planet. So I guess just the lighting just really I think it really just showed his like was supposed to show that half of him was like kind of mysterious and the other is kind of yeah, he's this is that's about it. Um, yeah. So here's some photos. So you can see his side lighting here, kind of an odd position. You can only see his head. Um, yep. And then if like one of her high art photos included like some sort of story, like Merlin. So some like literary works which she was trying to capture here. This one's an odd photo. Kind of, you can't even see his face at all. She's definitely taking a downward angle on this guy, really emphasizing the texture of his hair and his beard, and you can barely see his face. Also, she's also very like taking pictures of children, but like not in a sexual way, just to spread their innocence, I guess, to show what they were like and what they represented to her. So this photo looks very artistic. Looks kind of like the background is kind of like flowing and like very the the child looks very kind of like almost angelic. Yeah, this picture is also just pretty typical photo for her because it's not very clear. The person's not even looking straight into the camera. Kind of interesting. So I'm gonna talk about the significance of this photographer. So she was very significant because she changed the way people thought about photography for generations to come. She she was the first photographer to reject the conventional techniques and convince the world that photography was basically an art form. She was at the time she was really critiqued for breaking the rule because she didn't seem like a good photographer because her process was not always the cleanest. Let's say the picture, like the people in the photos, were intentionally out of focus, and during the process, sometimes her scratches and smudges on the prints, which look kind of not professional, maybe. But even though she may have not been the greatest, like at the process of photography, because she started so late, like her motto was not about the process. It was about making photographs and art. She really wanted to evoke feelings rather than showing facts. So that's the main point that she was trying to get at. Um, she really she embraced the Victorian era, so meaning that she was the main artist during the Victorian era. She was the photographer. Mm. One of the quotes said, "A gallery of vivid portraits in a mirror of the Victorian soul." So, yep. In addition to making portraits, she also like with her high art. She also liked to introduce like literature, poets, and like scenes from plays like Shakespeare into her photography. So she was probably one of the most iconic photographers ever because she changed the way photography is viewed and now and how it is today.